Well, welcome. Thanks for the introduction, Brad. I'll talk about Brad in a bit, but can I just see a round of hands for people who have not been to a pug before? All right, so maybe a quarter of the group. So I want to especially welcome you, but this session or these days are really intended for you, and so please, if there's questions, ask them. There's a lot of SBS employees here who would love to talk to you about any topic. I'm going to run through really a few things. I'm going to give an update. I renamed this corporate update as opposed to State of the Union. It just sounds too big. So it's more of a corporate update. I'll talk about what's new within SBS. I want to talk about the products and what we're doing on the product side. Since 2023, by the end of this year, we will have doubled our development teams, and actually more than that. And so we're doing a lot on the product. We're trying to move faster, and so I'm excited to talk to you about that, including AI. And then I'll talk about SBS initiatives, what we're doing in the business to respond to customer needs better, trying to move faster. I'll talk about those, and then I'll wrap up. In terms of the update, I think most of you probably know what's on this slide, but I want to at least give those who are new maybe a chance to understand who we are. We are a software company, but we deliver solutions, and so we're very solution-centric. That's how we think. We do design software for different needs, but we also integrate those, and so end-to-end software solutions is the game we play. In terms of our customers, 98% of our business is with utilities and engineering companies. We are starting to move into telecom, and so we've got some folks from Aecon who are going to talk about what they're doing, and we're excited to talk about that. It's a nice expansion area for us, and it leverages the software capabilities really well. In terms of the company itself, we were founded in 2002. We've gone through a number of iterations through the years. In 2016, we acquired Autodesk's software in the utility space, and basically that's the current business that we're in, and it's been a great ride. It's been, I think, moving faster, and our partnership with Autodesk has been great from day one, but I think it's never been stronger than it is today. We've got about 85 employees, and we are spread out. Most of the folks are in North America. We have a fair number of folks in Canada, but most of the business is here in the U.S. But we do have a presence in Australia. We have a presence in Europe, and we're trying to also grow outside the U.S. and so those areas are growing as well. Partnership. Brad talked about partners. Autodesk has been a key partner since 2016 and continues to be a really helpful, valuable partner for us. Esri is also a partner, one of our strategic partners, given their space in the industry. In terms of what the situation we're in, I used to do an industry update. I shortened that to this one slide. In 2023, that was my first pug, and I talked about we're embracing change together. Last year we came and it was the same theme, only it was bigger and faster. There was more of it. And this year it's accelerating even more. There's so much going on. The rate of change, the rate of work has never been more. On top of that, though, there is an overwhelming theme of affordability. When I've talked to utilities this year, and this is from, you talk to the engineers, you talk to the execs, the C-level folks, affordability is one of the topics everybody brings up. And so, it's a challenging space. Not many utilities get calls from their customers saying, hey, thanks for keeping my power on. 99.99 is great. Thank you. That just doesn't happen. If the power goes out, they absolutely will call you. And so it tends to be an underappreciated thing that people take for granted. But in general, for those of us who work in this space, we understand it's getting harder each year. Today I think, it's harder than it was last year. There's more work to do. A lot of people are retiring. The budgets, I think, are getting tighter. And so it's just the constraints are overwhelming. And the load is going up. And it's hard, I think, for utilities to say to customers who want to buy more power, sorry, we can't deliver that. And so it's a bit of a crucible. We're honored to work with you, alongside you in that effort. So we do understand that this is the space we live in. In terms of culture and values, one of the things we did over the last year is we did step back and say, what are our values? And the company was founded, Dennis Beck and Andy Street formed the company in 2002. And the culture has always been customer-centric. It's been great. But we had different terms in the value statements, things like flexibility, which is good. But we stepped back and said, what do we want to make sure are overriding values? And so passion for customer success was one of them. And that's always been the case, but we wanted to clarify that. We know that we only succeed if you do. And so it's not, if we succeed and have a good year and you guys don't, that's not success. And so we succeed only if customers succeed. Second, innovation. What got us here won't get us there. We can't work harder. You guys can't work harder. We've got to work smarter. We've got to leverage technology. That's the path forward. And so that is a key part of who we are. We try to be innovative. We've got feet on the ground. I think you'll hear me say we're grounded. And that's because we're users of technology. More important than anything is understanding the problem we have to solve before we try to solve it. But we absolutely want to use innovation and technology as a solution because there's a lot of work to do and we can't work harder. And then lastly, solution focused. We're obviously trying to deliver products, we're trying to deliver services, but we always have to understand the problem we're solving and solve it with a solution that works for you. We do tend to think end-to-end solutions. We do think integration, but those things, that keeps us grounded, keeps us pragmatic, and problem solvers and a partner you need. Shifting gears just a bit, apologize for the number of boxes here. I wanted to talk a little bit about our org. So the blue boxes are, this is a org chart for the senior leadership team of SBS. The blue boxes represent people who've been in their roles for more than a year. If you were here last year, there were fewer blue boxes. So we've had a lot of growth, we've had a lot of change in our leadership. I think the values that I just talked through, those are the values that we hire against. And so we've built, I think, a really strong leadership team and really excited about it. We do have some gold boxes here, which are new in the last year. And so let me walk through those. So Brad, you just met Brad. Brad Irwin joined us. He worked for a long time for the same company I did, OSI. So he understands utility space. He understands pressure. He understands the crucible you're in. And he also understands things like GIS and why design matters. And so he's joined us, and really it's mostly for a succession plan for Pat. Pat has been just a long-time leader here at SBS and has done so much good work. Pat is going to retire. Our youngest intern, Rose, is here with us today, Pat's granddaughter. She's got to be about 4 years old, I think. But Pat is going to retire at some point, and so from a succession planning, he is training Brad and bringing Brad on up to speed so he can do the work that he's traditionally done. On top of that, Pat's always done a ton of other stuff. He's still doing that stuff. He's helping us with process stuff. He's helping us with the finance stuff. He's a jack of all trades. So he's our utility guy. But his primary role is to help on the distribution side and get Brad up to speed. Next, we've got Andy, who I think you saw. Andy Mott joined us from a marketing standpoint. We're a group of engineers. Our initial website was designed by Dennis Beck, an engineer, our founder. I designed the second rev. I'll be the first to say I am not a web designer or a marketing person. So we couldn't quite go all the way to fluffy marketing, so we found Andy, who is a Navy nuke guy, And so he's a technical guy, but he loves marketing, and he's helping us with our messaging. And so it is some of the fluffy stuff just to make us look better, but it's a lot of value stuff. Like he's done these ROI calculator tools for our products. And so if you're trying to implement something, you want to see what we've got ROI calculators that talk about the return on investment our software provides. And we're using that to help make our products better. And so he's been a great add to help us. And yeah, it's events like this, it's Distributech, it's our website, but he's really part of the business and helping us drive things. We brought on Bonnie Castle for CFO, and you know, behind the scenes, there's a lot of stuff that goes on when we need to send invoices, we need to pay employees. Bonnie's doing a great job of helping us clean that up and scale as we grow. And so, you know, the better job she does there, the more transparent it is for you guys. We want to talk to you about your problems. We don't want to talk about, you know, is the invoice right? And so she's done a great job there. And then last but not least, sales front. So the biggest change we made, we did make some changes in the leadership of the sales org, and we brought on Michael Kerfeld, who is here, and I look forward to you getting to know Michael. But we needed to make a change because what's critical for us to help customers is to understand solution selling and solving the problems. And so Michael he's worked in the utility space his entire career. He understands solutioning is we're not selling boxes of software, we're selling solutions that involve integrations, that involve services, that involve partners, and Michael's been really helpful at helping us deliver and understand that. We also brought on, under Michael, Mike Eggenberger, who is a long-term Locana employee. He also understands solutioning, the space we're in. And then Jen Clark, who similarly, she's worked in this space for a long time. So it's understanding customers and the market we serve and solutioning. And so we made that change. And that was a big change for us, but a very good change. The last one on here, the gold box, is on the far left, Mark Browning. So I like very much having advisors. You know, I think our team, senior management team, every blue box here feels very comfortable telling me what they think I should do, and so that's good. But industry advisors help us, you know, understand the space we're in. And so Mark used to be the CIO of Exelon. He just retired in 2024. He came on to our advisory board. He's a well-known guy in the industry, kind of an icon in the CIO space. And so he's been a great advisor for us to help, how do we serve utilities? Because there's a lot that goes into the rate cases, there's a lot that goes into all the economics that drive you, and he helps us understand those things and I think serve you better. The dash boxes, these are not official partners, but I certainly consider them partners. We've talked a lot about Autodesk. I think the Autodesk partnership, you know, I talked to the product guys, the VP of products over AutoCAD, Revit, Civil 3D on a regular basis. The product guy, Theo Agalopoulos, it took me a long time to learn how to say his name. But he's somebody that I talk to on a regular basis. Autodesk is great at giving us advice, as well as the folks that are here. They're just great advisors. Esri's been a great advisor through the years. And I think also we've got a lot of partners here, the UDC, the TRCs. We've got a technology partner, Locana, Locust View is here. And so if I missed anybody, I apologize for that. But our partners are really great advisors as well. So, you know, we as a collective, you know, when we do a project, it's a customer in the boat. A lot of times it's an engineering firm in the boat. There's a technology partner, a delivery partner. We all have to be in the boat together, and if we're rowing in the same direction, it helps a lot. It helps us to get to the destination. And we only succeed together, and so it's an ecosystem that we're really happy to be part of, and we think it really works. Lastly, you know, I think there has been a lot of change and growth with SBS over the last couple of years. I think my goal next year when I'm here is to have nothing but blue boxes here. That is the goal. I think we've got a great management team. I think values, we're all centered on the same values. I think you'll see that we're all very customer-centric. We're passionate about our products. We're passionate about, being successful with you. So I think this is the leadership team to take us forward, and we really appreciate all the work that they do and look forward. I really hope you meet all the folks on this chart this week. So, switching gears, products. What do we need to do when we talk about products? First, I think, is to understand, how do we think of ourselves and how do we fit into the ecosystem? We're an intelligent design platform. We've got products that have workflow, that have automation, that test standards and validations. But we don't think of ourselves as the data people. We think of ourselves as sitting at the heart of the digital workflow. So we're in the middle of design. We don't store any data anywhere. We try to talk to the right system at the right time. And we think that that is a very important distinction because it helps us focus on that workflow and it helps us focus on solving the problems end to end. So when you look at that space, one of the things that we hope this conference does is we hope we get lots of input. So the best ideas always come from you. I was talking with Travis last night from Encore, and he had this thought and idea, and it was like, that's a great idea. It's so important for you to share what are your challenges, what if you guys could do this, those type of discussions we love. And so, please have those discussions this week. In terms of AI, AI is an area that it's in the news constantly. We've been working in AI for several years. We are pretty grounded in how we're approaching it. And I joke, I said, when people are ready to fly in a plane designed by AI, we'll go ahead and put that into our algorithms. Until that, our algorithms are going to be deterministic and they'll be based on rules. Having said that, there are a few areas that we're working on, and one, and I'll talk about each one of these, but one is just our internal tools. Two is deployment tools for our software for projects. Three is in 2026 we will add AI features into our products themselves. And then fourth, we've got some standalone products. And so I'll talk about each one of these. From an internal tool standpoint, we've got what we call AI, SBS Assistant. And it's really for us, it's for our partners, and it's really, it's a fairly straightforward RAG model, but we've pulled in all our own information. It doesn't pull information from the web. It's just our information, but it really helps make it available to partners. It's getting better over time. We're teaching it, and so it's been a great tool for us to use internally to get work done. It drives productivity. This year, we are currently working on deployment proof of concept for using AI to configure AUD. And so the goal is to have this AI-assisted parsing tool that helps ingest standards, your standards, industry standards, and put those into a form that AUD can ingest. And so that's actively going. It's something that Sergey and Jason led along with Sarah from delivery. And it's a work in progress. By the end of this year, though, we'll have this in place. And the goal is to reduce the hours and the content that it takes to deliver projects. SMEs tend to be the gate, and it's so challenging to get the time of the SMEs. So we want to reduce the hours required from SMEs, simplify configuration, and get a lot more of this done and drafted through AI. And so that's an exciting area. Thirdly, so our products. In 2026, I apologize for the small fonts at the top. These are just the traditional functionality within the products of AUD, physical design, and PNC. And so the top is what we've traditionally done. What we want to do is we want to add to those features with what's on the bottom, the AI-powered features. And these are more, planning and and exploratory. So, an enhanced design suggestion using AI to give you optionality, and if you want to consider different options, we can have AI that helps do that in our products. We think it's a great tool to, look for anomalies within the designs, QA, QC checks, and so this will be our first foray in 2026. And so we're excited about this, and we think it'll be transformative and helpful in the products. Last but not least, these are platform products. We really have one platform, but we've got applications that sit on top of it. And the platform itself, for all of you, if you've worked in transmission and NERC, air-gapped ESPs and understand that, we've built a vectorization tool that sits on-prem in your location. It could sit in the ESP of a transmission operation center, and you could run it in that center because it's in your own security perimeter, never talks to anything outside of your system, and it will ingest the data that you want to build the large language model that you need, and that basically contextual large language model is really useful to do things. And so we've built that platform. The first product we put on top of it was subsGPT. So if you want to go to subsgpt.ai, you can see our platform there and sign up you have to submit your name, but you can go through and see how it basically designs a substation, a 30% designed substation that's costed, and it can do it in an hour with just a chat interface, and it's pretty slick, and it really, I think, can transform how you plan. Planning substations, it takes a lot of work. A lot of the ones that are planned don't actually proceed, and so this makes it cheaper and more effective for you to look at different options and not have such a big investment if it doesn't succeed. So that's the first application. The second one is design compliance validation. This came from a customer that they complained, and they said they needed some help with their FAC 8 reports. Those are facility rating reports from NERC that you have to do on transmission assets. And if you have a substation in transmission space, you might have 2,000 lines to go through each and every item that's in the circuit to make sure it's rated correctly. And over time, it's hard to maintain those. Every single transmission company has these. The challenge is it right? Have we updated things that has changed things? So we basically ingested the information from a substation, did a FAC 8 report, compared it to a FAC 8 report that this customer had, and said, you've got 12 or 15 line items that you ought to check. Your FAC 8 report doesn't line up with the data in your system. And so it's very purpose-built. The large language model is targeted at that type of data, but it's a useful tool. And it just shows the power of AI. It does a lot of stuff that just, if you're a human going through that work, it would take you days and days and weeks. It'd be awful work. An AI engine runs through it pretty quickly, and you still have to verify and check, but it's a nice tool. So those two are currently available, and we're doing POCs, and we're excited about those. On the right, this is what we're going to work on in 2026. I didn't run this name by you, Andy. So Automated Engineering Center, I think, is not going to live, but in the absence of having Andy in the room with me when I did this slide, that's what I named it. We have a customer, every AUD customer has a lot of jobs. They don't all do all those jobs with AUD. So I've got one customer that's 200,000 jobs a year. They do 80,000 with AUD. The other 120 are non-engineering jobs, pole replacements, simple service connections, other things that don't take engineering. So we are basically going to take those with input that is structured input. You got to get the right input, but the goal is to then be able to release a construction package without anyone else touching it after you press go with the right information, and basically release a construction package ready for construction. And so we think that's achievable. We think this is a great platform to do it on, and we're excited about that, and we'll be working on that in 2026. The last one is really around substations, but if you do substation projects, the idea is a 3D drag and drop model. It's great, it works really well. The gate for every project is getting the content that you want to drag onto the drawing. So you got a substation, you got transformers, you got to have the transformer modeled with intelligent ports so you can drag and drop it into your design. We're planning to do a AI application that basically helps people submit cut sheets with details on them. We can then create simple models. They'll have to verify those, but once it's verified, they can put them into their system. And so that should take days and hours off of the work that these folks need to do. So anyway, all tangential to what AUD does, but I think very interesting. We're super excited about it. Other areas beyond AI, you know, I put the basics here as number one. The basics are really important. When you're a software company, you got to take care of things like cybersecurity, security coding practices. So we've done a lot with the portal. We've still got some work to do to make our software portal really good. We've got a lot of product releases that come out on a regular basis. We're working on documentation for those. We're working on training. So that's stuff that we'll just continue to invest in every sprint release. Number two, the affordability, really in particular tied to project implementation. We're working from a product standpoint to take out hours, to simplify the implementation. And so that's part of what we just need to do to make projects easier, to make our products easier to implement. Third, collaboration. You guys have to collaborate internally. You have to collaborate with partners. There's a lot of AEC firms here. You got to figure out how to do that. We have to help you do that securely. And so that's part of what we do. Collaborating through the construction cloud or the cloud, whether it's construction cloud or it's or Bentley's products, that's an important part of us as well. We need to help make that easy. And so that's something that our product folks constantly look at. And then lastly, there's a lot of features. So we've got our distribution product. We have a lot of customers that use AUD for sub-transmission. So there's features that we're adding to make it better. Telecom, we'll hear about telecom in a bit. But telecom's something that we released ABD. It's really AUD. We found that telecom companies don't want to buy anything with utility in the name. Don't know why, but so we branded it, and there is a different template and whatnot. So it is its own product, but it's really the heart of it's AUD. So we'll continue to add to that. Renewables, we'll continue to build renewables, mostly for developers who are trying to take planning and put it into a construction package. We've done some things with PV Case to make that easier. They're one of the key planning programs that people use. And then a really big one for us is this year we're going to add Revit to our foundations for our substation products. And so substation physical designs built on Inventor. That's what we bought or received from Autodesk in 2016. We added AutoCAD along the way. We're now adding Inventor. Inventor's got a great collaboration capability. It's got great capabilities of all kinds of things. It doesn't know what a wire is, so we've got to teach it what a wire is, and so we'll do that. But when we do that and we add the rules and other things on top of it, you'll have collaboration and rules, and we think that that's going to be really, really great for our substation folks. And we're also going to unify the data model. So we're unifying the data model so that P&C and substation physical design have, you know, a consistent data model, and that'll just make everything so much easier. So there's other things. Jason's going to talk about products and other things, and we'll, I'm sure, lots of details that he'll add. So other initiatives. What, you know, this is the same thing I presented last year. This is one of my mantras that I strongly believe in. I think flexibility is something that we offer, and we can configure our products in amazing different ways. Having said that, what my edict to the project teams are is we walk in and we say, here's what is best practice that we see in the industry as a starting point. We want to walk in and say that, and if you need to change it, we'll change it, we'll talk through it. But we test against those best practices, we configure our tools, so our automated testing, all tests for those. The more customers who adopt those, we think, the better and easier it is from a product standpoint. And so we're not trying to make as many configurations as possible. We're trying to limit those. Having said that, we are flexible, but we want to be prescriptive and say this is what most people do. This is the best practice. And if you need to do something different, it's fine. It's just if you do that, you'll follow the test standards, you'll follow everything that we do typically. We can't test every test case for every different configuration, and so we prefer if people stay closer to standard. Ecosystem, the partners, we can't do all the work ourselves, and we've got great partners. We've been blessed with the partners we have. We're going to continue to build out the systems. We built a new portal for our partners this year. Hopefully you guys are finding that useful. We'll continue to make it better. We'll add the assistant to it. But in terms of the partnership and the ecosystem, we do about half our work today. And so half of the work that we do on projects gets done by partners, and we think that's great. And that gives more people to support your needs over time. But absolutely, the ecosystem is vital for us to deliver high-quality projects as we grow. Last but not least, in terms of big initiatives, in 2026, we're planning to launch an expanded technical service organization. So we've got a support organization, and Richard is our focal point. It's a little bit like a medical triage person. He gets a ticket, and he sends it somewhere. If he can't solve it himself in a few minutes, he sends it somewhere else to say, hey, we got a problem, solve this, and it goes to engineering, it goes to the folks in delivery, it goes to the software folks. So Richard does a great job of that, and we generally have pretty good results. Having said that, I want to expand the org, and we're going to add something called customer success. And the way I would describe customer success is it's proactive instead of reactive. I'll be honest, this year we had a couple surprises where customers called us and they were in a state that was not great, and we had to help them fix it. They had some IT migrations where they had done some things on the IT side and it affected productivity. And, we'd like to be proactively helpful in that situation as opposed to wait till there's a problem and then fix it. And so we're going to add what we're calling technical account managers. And those folks will proactively work with our customer base, check in. They're not trying to sell anything. They're trying to understand how you're using the software, if there's something we can do to help, but be proactive. We're also going to add a system engineer to this group. More and more, people are virtualized environments. They're doing things to, help deploy within their own environment. There's some system, it's networking, it's, system engineering, it's memory allocation. And so we want to have a systems engineer who can be proactive and be part of the solutions. And so we'll launch this in 2026. We've got a budget for 4 people, and we think it's going to be a really helpful, proactive thing, and excited about that. And then lastly, in terms of investing in the business, we'll continue to do the things that help us be better. I think, I said, when our finance group sends the right invoices, it helps everybody because we can focus on problems instead of trying to fix the invoice. License management continues to be something we'll focus on. Service KPIs, we want to make sure we're responsive. Cybersecurity, it is absolutely paramount to everything we do. We'll continue to make those processes better. Analytics and reporting, we want to give those better tools to you to access, for your understanding of how you're using our tools. And then quality management system. We've gotten to the size now where we're going to invest in more structured quality management system. And we are adding staff. We're being wise about how we've grown, but we're continuing to add staff. We'll add staff to delivery. We'll add staff in the software area. We'll add, staff where it makes sense, customer success. And we think that that's, as we grow, we want to make sure that we're taking care of business. So that's it in a nutshell. When I go see a customer, one of the things I like to ask is, are we being the partner you need? Are we being the partner you want? And what do we need to do? We think in terms of partnership. We know that we're only successful if you're successful. And it's easy for us, honestly. Another thing that I do when the project folks come back from a deployment and they say it went great, I say great. I always ask the sales folks or account manager, just call them and check in, because it's good for us to triangulate and make sure that we really understand the situation. But we appreciate the partnership. We absolutely need the partners. And when I say partners, I mean customers, implementation partners, technology partners. So we're so grateful, and we're really excited to work with you. I think the days ahead are challenging. Budgets, growth, load growth, technology changes, but we're excited to work with you on that, and we really appreciate your time. So thanks, and with that, I think I'm turning it back to Brett.